everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Explore the Spectrum. I'm your host, Jeanetta Bryant, and today we are joined with Dayna. Dayna, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so glad to have this conversation. Now, you're up in Oklahoma and you have a therapy center which incorporates ABA, occupational and speech therapy. And those are kind of the trio. That's the triad of things that most parents are most familiar with. But you've integrated more than just those three elements into y'all's practice. Tell me, what do y'all do that's a little bit different than what we might associate just to thinking, oh, it's another therapy clinic? Y'all do a little bit different, right?
Yes. So we not only have ABA, speech and occupational therapy, but we also do psychological evaluations. We basically are just like, I would describe us as just a pediatric behavioral health organization. So we have some kids who come in for just counseling. We have PCIT. So we have LPCs working there. We have psychologists working there, just the whole gamut.
It's a wonderful thing for a parent when we're able to align ourselves with a clinic that really is more comprehensive, and we can just trust in that team, because not only is it make it easier for us to be able to get the services for our child, but there's a feeling that the different services are connected, right? When Sally and Jan and Sam and everybody is talking together, or at least in our minds, we think people are talking together about our child, it just makes a more unified approach, I guess is the best way for me to say that. And that's significant when we're not having to constantly relay things, especially when one technician or one person can relay success story that they had with our child to somebody else. Hats off to making that work as a one-stop for parents. I know that people appreciate you the same way that I would if you were more local. You know, if you turn up one in Florida or Orlando specifically, you'll have to let me know. But
for sure.
To be forward thinking and to try to do it all under one roof, I would imagine that you've got some type of personal story that brought you into this community. What led you down this path?
So I love sharing my story because it kind of just fell in my lap. I wasn't looking for it, and that's usually how great stories start, right? So it was 2004, and I was going to church and playing on our worship team, and one of the gentlemen from the worship team, I knew he had a son with autism, and he had just been diagnosed. The child was 3 years old at the time, and he said, "Hey, they're looking for people to work with my kid. I know you like kids, and you just have to do this training, and then you can come to our house and work with our kid. Like, are you up for it?" And I was working at a dentist office at the time, but I knew it was in my heart to be a teacher. And so I thought, well, this could be, a good stepping stone. And I was, in college. And so I said yes. And so when I arrived at this training, I was actually living in Phoenix, Arizona at the time. It was all about ABA. And I just fell in love with it because it just combined my love for working with children as well as my interest in psychology. And I just thought it was just a beautiful thing to combine the two. And so that's when I first started. And then through that, I became a special ed teacher, and then wanted to get out of the classroom and do a little more. And I went back to my roots and became a board certified behavior analyst in 2018.
That's incredible. Congratulations. And it is. There's, these stories and these people that touch our lives, and they change the trajectory of everything that we're doing. It's powerful when one of those moments happen and we're able to embrace it. And obviously you found your calling in helping these families and these kids be their best. So thank you for doing that. Now, if you were to give a tip, and I'm going to ask for two tips, one to a parent and one to a professional, what would the number one tip you would give to a parent be if they're choosing right now, they're on the fence about leaning into doing any type of ABA therapy or not, because it has its pros and cons for different kids. And then as a professional, what would you advise to other professionals on when to embrace ABA more?
So to answer the parent question first, I love when parents have come to me. I've I've taken many phone calls when they've said, hey, I've researched applied behavior analysis, and they see the dark side. And every field has a dark side to it. And so I say, well, you got to ask the right questions. Here are the questions you got to ask. You got to find the right clinician that fits your family. I know that when I was younger, my mom, she interviewed the doctors. And so when one doctor said, oh, I need surgery on this, she said, I'm going to find someone else and get a second opinion. So there's nothing wrong with going to multiple clinicians to find the right fit for your family. And just like anything else, you got to trust your gut, especially when it comes to taking your child somewhere or having someone come into your home. Trust your gut and don't be afraid to ask questions.
I love that. And the tip to the practitioners that are out there, or the professionals, on why they should embrace ABA a little bit more?
Because it's a wonderful science. And yes, like I said, it has a dark side, but I've just seen the impact that it can have on these families and children. And, you know, we need each other. ABA all alone is not perfect. And so we need speech, occupational therapy. I've recommended kids come from ABA to PCIT just to help that parent-child interaction. We need each other. And so don't be afraid to collaborate.
I love that. Collaboration is the key to the success for so many of these families and for these kids. And those two takeaways that I got was, you know, to not be afraid to interview the different clinicians and the different people that are going to be working with your child. I do think that the dichotomy of that should shift more, because we as parents sometimes go, oh, well, you've got a wait list, or, oh, there's this and that. And there's this balance that is unbalanced, where you feel like they have more weight and importance and significance than you do. But parents should always be wise that you know your child better than anyone, right? So if it doesn't feel right,
Yes.
Follow your gut, exactly as you said.
Oh, yeah.
And the idea of researching things and finding the right one, I think that applies really well when, you know, you said to collaborate with other practitioners or other clinicians and other professionals. But I think that the research side of it and finding the right one is important. So if you're a professional that's out there and you're on the fence of saying, hey, should I introduce this to some of my kids or to some of my families I work with, each of them are uniquely different, and they very well could gain something from this. So if somebody wants to reach out to you directly, how do they find you?
So they can head to our website. It's peakbh.org. There's our website is on there, and it has our phone number, has an email, and they are welcome to contact us that way. We also have social media, Facebook and Instagram.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story and the story of y'all's clinic with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. And thank you to all of our viewers for joining us on this segment as we continue to explore the possibilities.